Awesome. Well, welcome everyone to another live Happy PharmD podcast. Joining me today, for those of you just listening, I have Alex Barker and Laura Licari. Welcome, guys, to another live stream podcast. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. And if anyone had a chance to see the post that Alex had online today, so basically today we're going to be going back and forth, kind of. Laura and Alex are going to be discussing and debating the difference or the importance of pharmacy associations, their love for them, I guess, in terms of if they have anything against them. And I'll let Alex kind of explain what side he's taking, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm out of my league on this one. Laura has an intensive background in associations, and I do not.
Like a chess master with their prey. Checkmate.
So, to be clear, I think associations have value. I think they provide value. I think they make a difference in our profession. I am playing the devil's advocate. I'm playing the role of the bad guy. I'm not going to play the role of the internet troll.
And we appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm not going to be toxic. I'm not going to talk about associations in a anonymous way that some people do in forums and in Facebook groups and other places. I'm going to try to talk about it as politically negative as possible.
And I agree to those terms. And likewise, I agree to use factual information and not the pie in the sky goals that associations say that we do. So
Ooh.
I agree to these terms, sir.
It's awesome, guys. Well, with that being said, let us just jump right in. So let's go with Laura. I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts on associations? Maybe give us some background and go from there.
Thank you, Dr. Baechle. And again, thank you for having me back on the podcast. This is my favorite when I have a forum and a microphone, and really appeals to my only childness. So thank you. I will let the audience know that I am, as Dr. Barker says, quite biased because I have been involved in my state association, the Illinois Pharmacists Association, shout out team, for over 10 years now. And to me, it has been truly life-changing from number one, the network of friends that I have made over the last 10 years. And Illinois is geographically a huge state. And so technically, I probably would not have had come into contact with a lot of these colleagues just from sheer geography purposes. And I see we've got a comment from our own Jackie Boyle here at the Happy PharmD, who I think is definitely going to be chiming in and agreeing listeners if you're on the podcast. Jackie Boyer, our Happy PharmD lead coach, who was also, as I'm getting to, the president of her state association. And so my lead I'm going to bury is that I had the honor of serving as the president of the Illinois Pharmacists Association from 2018 to 2019, luckily before COVID. And it was such an honor, and it was truly life-changing. I was very tired, but it was a remarkable year. And so I hope that people can join their state association, join a national association, but feel the passion for pharmacy that I did when you get together with people who you don't work with, other practitioners, and you don't get sucked into a vortex of negativity about your employer. You actually have time to celebrate and collaborate on what you love about pharmacy. So that's definitely my point of view.
All right, Alex, I hope you're ready. I'll let you go next.
Rebuttal? Can I have space to rebuttal?
Of course.
So let's talk about the baseline. I remember, I'm playing negative Nancy here, folks. We can agree, any group provides networking opportunity. It's nice that they're all pharmacists. And I won't deny that associations provide conferences, maybe some online things that facilitate those natural connections that can happen. That's cool. That's great. I will argue, though, you could get many of those connections on your own, in your own endeavors, in your own efforts. You could get them by simply starting a project with people of like-minded or same interests. So while I think, sorry, my foot is touching a carrot. Thank you, my children. While I believe that it's true networking is a value for everyone in our profession, I don't think that is just the only benefit or even the best benefit that associations should be providing to the profession.
And I hear you, I really do, on the networking aspect, because I think especially if COVID has given us the space for Zoom meetings, it's getting on a Zoom meeting with like-minded people working on some pharmacy project and getting to know people on a more personal level, and not having to freeze your butt off in a hotel room, listening to some continuing education and then maybe talking to someone at lunch or who's sitting next to you. I think this year it's made it completely appropriate to have virtual coffee, quote unquote, with someone that you happen to be, again, kind of like-minded with. I can jump back in and just say the camaraderie. If my Roosevelt University colleagues are listening, I love you. Don't worry. I love you. And you mean the world to me. But there is something about the people that I have met at IPHA that have made it the most meaningful experience. And again, I think it's that you leave your employer and you leave the frustration of, oh yeah, we both work for insert chain pharmacy name here. And you come back to just talking about each other as people and connecting on a more personal level.
So I would be remiss if I didn't go over some of these comments. Janan, stab in the back here. And of course she would say this for those listening later. She says that associations produce authoritative content, often created by members and pharmacists. And another LinkedIn user who for whatever reason I didn't get their name, says association produced position statements, guideline, advocacy.
So let's shift into what other wonderful things pharmacy associations do. And listeners are probably thinking, yeah, they plug up my email. They tell me every single day about some new advocacy and to please give money and to write in and to please tell my legislator to do this, this, and this. And I think and thank you, Janan, a Happy PharmD coach who we're so happy to have here on the live stream, who does work for the American Pharmacists Association, full disclosure, of which I am a member as well. And I think that is a really good point. And that media, position statements, advocacy, APHA sends out a daily email updating pharmacists on what is happening in the news specific to pharmacy. I think a lot of people know I can get that for free online, right? Newspapers are trying desperately to figure out how to keep membership going in a time when media and news is free. But for me, it's delivered in a perfect package into my email box. I read it. And then if I can sell people on paying for pharmacist specific information delivered right to your email box, I take that information, and when I talk to my boss or I talk to other leaders in pharmacy, I sound really cool because I know what I'm talking about. And that has gotten my foot in the door for quite a few job opportunities because I can articulate what is going on in the marketplace. And I know what's going on in the marketplace because IPHA and APHA has delivered it right to me, and I don't have to go out and seek it on my own.
And I had a question about that, Laura, quick. For those maybe who, let's say for pharmacists who maybe recently graduated or have been working for a while but haven't been part of an association, can you relate to the difference between not having been involved with one to currently being involved in one?
100% because I was involved in nothing when I was in pharmacy school. I was a townie and I went home and I felt completely disconnected from campus life. So I graduated in 2006 and did not join IPHA board of directors until 2011. So I didn't do anything. And I think it's, especially in this job market, I will speak for Chicago. I literally just came from a call with a fourth year student and I said, you got to join IPHA. Join as a student, start building up that network. And I think there's other ways, of course, that she could start her network. But I said, you know, we've got a COVID town hall tonight. Drop in, introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm a fourth year and I'm looking for work opportunities. You know, here's my LinkedIn address, and you go from there. I'll let
Alex jump in. I see him. I see the wheels turning. I'll let him jump right in.
So back to a previous point, authoritative content.
Yes.
This is not a pharmacy only issue, but one of the biggest issues that is happening across all of the medical community, particularly in pharmacy, is mixed messages. The easiest thing for us to point to as to why these associations are in some ways doing more harm than good is the mixed messaging about what is a pharmacist. So every major national organization kind of has a different message, a different blend of pharmacists that are a part of them. And so naturally, to their own credit, they want to push legislation to promote whatever their constituents, are trying to push for. ASHP has a completely different message than APHA. And I think everyone here knows the reasons why. So on top of that, we have 50 states plus our territories that have associations, and they all kind of have a different blend, a different mix. And it's usually based on who's in leadership, right? What are the priorities that they see? Laura, you are a very, much more gregarious, probably leader than IPHA has been used to. So you definitely brought a different blend. And what I see in other professions is, I'm sure, they could tell us more about how they're just as disunified as we are. But take, for example, physicians, the American Medical Association. That is the leading association with the most power, the most money, the most members. And for good or ill, they get stuff done. And I only know this because I've talked with legislatures. Oddly enough, my own local area's representative was my babysitter as a kid. So, he's changed my diapers and everything. So he knows me. Okay. He knows me.
That's a way in the front door, everyone. Get your babysitter to be your future legislator.
Exactly. That's the key. We're coming out with a book about it next month. So I talked with him, and he admitted he has heard different things from different people.
Absolutely.
And if our legislative people, gosh, when it's live, I can't sound as intelligent. When people in legislation are getting mixed message from people in the profession, granted, there's only 300,000 of us, they're not going to understand or know what we want. We're tied to a product, and yet we're, wanting to be, as you talked to me about previously, Laura, reimbursed, right, versus compensated.
Hmm.
So if I was to take the negative side to the extreme, because I don't think the trolls and even the haters of associations, which, you know, everyone can hate any association, that's fine. I don't think that they want them totally dismantled. That doesn't make any sense. But I think what I would purport for and what I would love to see happen is just merging all these things together into a cohesive group. And oh boy, there's more negative talk about that, because as soon as you do that, you create bureaucracy, you create politics, you create, you know, a rift that could break the association apart. But to me, it would seem that would be the best way forward, is to bring all of the buying power that these associations have, all of the legislation power that they're individually trying to push, and bring together so that we could have a more powerful voice.
And that has happened pleasantly with this global pandemic. We have, if we have anything to try to be grateful for in this day and age of, you know, a year into COVID, it is that ASHP, APHA, NCPA, we have put out policy statements unified as one. We would like pharmacists to be more involved in public health.
Yeah. This is the problem with the pros and cons, because like no one is pointing to that fact. Like no one made a grabbing headline article in the news saying all associations banded together and in peace and unity and agreed upon COVID guidelines. Like who cares? We just want to complain about how you guys can't get along. So one for Laura. Okay. Visual here.
One of the things I want to jump in with too is a brief history of pharmacy, if you will. And we just lost all our podcast listeners. They're like, and I'm done with this. So I think my understanding from people who have researched the history of pharmacy much more than I have is the practice of medicine dates back thousands of years. The practice of pharmacy, as we know it now, dates back to the 1800s, where we were in the practice of apothecary for thousands of years, but that kind of fell under physicians as well. You know, some of them practiced apothecary on the side. So I also think what we're living through is the 1800s and the more manufacturing and regulation of pharmacy, right? IPHA started in 1880. I believe APHA, oh boy, I should know this, 1850 something, right? I mean, not even 200 years. And we are trying to figure out what our practice is. I mean, we didn't even have PBMs 40 years ago, and now 3% of pharmacists work in PBMs. And so we have the American Managed Care Pharmacy Association, or Academy of Managed Care Pharmacy, AMCP, right? So I feel like we have also a image issue of, again, 300,000 pharmacists, as Alex said, versus 1 million doctors versus 3 million nurses. Our buying power and our scale is so much more smaller, along with the fact that our profession has changed so much in just the last 80 years.
I was going to say with that though, Laura, so what about the pharmacists who maybe are questioning like their voice being heard, right? If they want to join an association. So what do you say to that?
I would, of course, point to how many people even voted in the last election. And so come talk to me about if you want your voice to be heard, and I will get on a Zoom call with you and your legislator, and I will teach you how to talk to your legislator. But you have to be an active part of that process. And you, with so many things, you have to really push yourself to go vote, to be educated on the issues, and to not just complain about the things that are happening to you, which again, I hate to equate to quote politics in America, but it is kind of the same thing. You need to take an active role in that. Now, pharmacy schools do not teach you how to take an active role in that. Unless you have friends or colleagues or parents or siblings who are really involved, you might not know how to take an active role in that. And so I do recognize that similarly to politics, people are not, they've got family and lives and jobs and faith, and they don't have time to read last month's American Pharmacists Association's webinar, 1 hour webinar on a law update. It's a lot of work.
When I think the typical pharmacist can name, maybe 3, 4, 5 associations, and all I think we could say about them, it's gonna be a generalist approach, is we know what the group is, and that's it. I've talked about this a lot before. It gets me mad and fired up. Pharmacists, we don't have a vision for what our profession is about, what it should be about. We hear things like provider status, but it's clear like our industry is not shifting into that. I don't think that's our savior. I think our savior is innovation in business, but like not every pharmacist is wanting to do that, and that's totally fine. So to hear from associations, this is what we do. If you want to be a part of it, come along. Here is how we can make a difference. I've never been told. I've been a part of a few associations. Truth be told, okay, I'm a convert. I think I'm in between memberships at the moment. Here is the vision, what we have for X Pharmacist Association. This is what we could be. We could be doing this. I envision pharmacy doing this in 20, 30, 50 years. It may not be in your generation, but in the future, this is what the future looks like. And here is how that could ultimately not just make an impact for you, your job, your satisfaction, your income, but patients, patient safety, saving lives. And here's our mission. Here's the one thing we want you to do. Spend 30 seconds, click on this, vote on this, do something really simple versus saying things like, we need more money. You've been with us a year. We emailed you a few times. Can we have some more money, please?
They do ask for money a lot.
And you know what? They need it. They need it.
Do.
And we can't, I didn't want to do this, Lauren. I didn't want to do it because I know for a fact
that, it means you're going to do it.
True. When I thought about this, I was going through my emails from my own state's association, and I was thinking back about all of the things that I know they failed on, and they owned it. And I know the things that they fought for and won, which was a powerful mind shift for me. That only my state association I know has been able to do. And so kudos to them. That's Michigan. I'm a Michigan boy. So great job, guys. You guys I think you're doing a great job, because in their newsletter, they make it really clear. This is a bill that's coming out. This is bad because this is happening. And when they don't win or that legislation gets passed, they've always been transparent about, we lost this one. They don't probably use that language, but they say, here's what we can do next. And I've always appreciated about that.
What are your thoughts on that, Laura? I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on and his process there in terms of what he'd like to see happen.
So my business associate here, Graydon, is going to help me with this. For listeners, my cat has now jumped into my lap, and this is working from home during COVID. So if we hear some kitten calls here, you'll know what that is. So number one, Michigan, if I'm correct, if Jackie Boyle is still on here, Michigan Pharmacists Association, which is traditionally community pharmacists, and the Michigan Health System Pharmacists, traditionally ASHP, I believe within the last 10 years did merge together. Yes. So, Alex, you are in a progressive state. IPHA and ICHP here in Illinois, we've talked about that. We just kind of keep getting tied up in our own stuff to come together and make that work. But you did come together for one message. And so to me, that is a small step and representative of what other states need to do, right? I do agree to that point. There needs to be one straightforward message. Now, the problem is, as we can see on social media, everybody weighs in on why that specific message is not important to them. And then we go right back to zero. And I do appreciate that they have acknowledged times where they have probably spent a lot of PAC money, political action committee fund money, and we did not get the legislation passed that we wanted.
Laura, it's so interesting because I work with you, right? You know, you've helped me out with a few things. And so like I've gotten to know you really well. And you just seemed too genuine to be successful as a president.
Thank you. Thank you. And I take that as a huge compliment because in politics, we don't see that type of transparency, right?
Not at all. I've been a part of a major international organization. Won't say which one. And it was very interesting. They were unified. They were all encompassing, multiple sectors of pharmacy, multiple regions. But as I began to talk with members, I learned how much of an old boys club it was. And being the impatient, I guess to them, radical person, I just didn't fit in. So while I say it'd be great if we were unified, I also recognize it's going to create so much chaos if we were to do that. That's why I'm probably not the one to do that. We're just here on the sidelines commenting about it.
And you know, and I appreciate that you are in between memberships, and I'd be happy to send you the link to the Michigan Pharmacists Association and help you reinstate your membership. And Chris, I assume you are, of course, a member of the North Carolina Pharmacists Association.
Still weighing in on my options as well.
Okay, all right.
Laura,
Okay.
you can also send me a link.
I will absolutely. My pleasure to send you a link.
Oh, this is live.
This is live too, busted. And I will say, I mean, Chris, North Carolina, groundbreaking Pharmacy Practice Act. You have collaborative practice agreements. You have reimbursement mechanisms that Illinois can only dream of. And so your specific pharmacy association is incredibly progressive and functional and gets it done, right? And that's without your membership dollars, Chris. Go on to a PBS telethon here.
Well, actually, I do want to bring that up though for both of you guys. So, like, since with COVID going on, what have you seen though? For like, as we're wrapping up, though, I'm curious though, from like pre-COVID to now, you're seeing everything things becoming more involved and coming together overall, and hoping that will stay the same way after. Or what are your thoughts on the future as we kind of hopefully things start getting better, right? Sooner than later, and more things are in person and not virtual. What do you kind of see happening after this past year and a half, or almost year and a half, or year and a few months now?
I have the least to say about it, Laura. You probably have a better answer. Whenever I think about these big movements, I always ask the question, who benefits? It's clear, if you think about this from just a wide spectrum, who benefits the most? It's the loudest voices. Clearly, APHA has the biggest membership for those in the community. And once again, even though this is apparently what our profession doesn't want to be the face, right? We're always trying to shift pharmacists away from community settings into more clinical roles. I don't agree with that, but when we think about where does that buying power go to, it goes back to the community. It just, I think, supplants more community and chain leaders into things like boards of pharmacy, into programs and associations, and more money gets put in there. And, you know, it kind of just perpetuates the cycle that we've been dealing with. So when I think about who wins, it ultimately in my mind lands on the people who have the power. I don't really know. I haven't thought much about ASHP and how they've benefited from this or what kind of movements they've made. But moving forward, I don't think we're going to see much of a change. Scott, I'm going to butcher his last name, but Gilson, friend, we've talked before, actually. He said pharmacy has a weak brand. Trust is not likability. Maybe this would fix and help create some type of unity and reduce confusion. And I think that's something I've talked about a lot. Our branding is so confusing. People don't know what we do. They think we count pills still. And I don't know which association can help fix that. I don't know. So I'm leaving that answer from a place of weakness. Chris, I apologize.
That's okay. No, and Laura, I'll let you try to elevate that.
Absolutely. And I will end on a positive note that number one, if you are a hospital and community pharmacist who has been working on the literal front lines during COVID, thank you. Thank you for keeping my friends and family safe. Because of that, number two, because we have finally been in the news, we've had newspaper articles written about us just a couple weeks ago, the New York Times, putting flat out the very difficult working conditions that are happening in chain pharmacies. The New York Times. We are finally getting the exposure that we need, that we do much more than counting pills. We are white coats. We can serve the community. I think people still, to Alex's point, think of us as Mr. Gower from It's a Wonderful Life. And
the pharmacist who beat him?
It is, yes. And who
that traumatized me as a kid.
The medications. But they think of a older white man pharmacist behind the counter. That's what people think of still. And so I do think COVID has changed a lot of people's minds and can see how much we serve the community. And I think that is a start in the right direction. So, so this is an interesting comment from another Laura. Pharmacists need to take back the power. We need to have unions in every state. Okay, so now we have our next podcast episode because I got a lot of ideas about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good
and bad.
Good and truly good and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed this, guys. And I am really, of course, Laura and Alex, you guys are always welcome, of course, to keep the topics rolling. I love doing these live episodes for everyone to see and also post comments in real time. Right. So again, thank you guys so much. And everyone listening, thank you guys so much for being on. And, also, please reach out to us if you have certain topics you'd like us to cover live like this, so you can post comments and questions in real time, and we can post them on here and give our answers in real time. So awesome, guys. Thank you so much again.
Thanks,
Chris.
Here. Yeah, it was fun.